Hello! Today I'm going to show you how to make these cute little succulent planters. These make a great gift, or they look great in your home. You don't need much to do this. All you need is some wood, probably some scrap wood you already have laying around the shop, a way to cut it, a way to drill it, some potting soil, and some epoxy. And it's a real quick process. We're going to glue together our blank. We're going to cut the shape out on the bandsaw. You can use any tool you want. You can cut them out on the table saw if you want. Then we're going to take it over to the drill press. We're going to drill a hole in it, and then we're going to coat that hole with epoxy to make it waterproof. That way when we water our plants, the water does not seep through and ruin our project. Then we're going to sand and finish and put the plants in there. So, are you guys ready? Let's do this.
First thing we need to do is cut out all the pieces for the blanks. Size doesn't really matter, but I suggest making them at least 3 1/4 inches tall. Now I'll just stack, glue, and clamp them all up. For this one, I'm using 3 pieces of cherry on the bottom with a piece of bubinga on top. I'm making 2 planters, so here I'm gluing up the second blank. That's a piece of 1/2 inch Baltic birch plywood sandwiched between 2 pieces of cherry. After a few hours, I remove the clamps. Now, I'll draw a straight line and cut it out on the bandsaw. Using the line we just cut, I draw a 3 3/4 inch square on each piece and go back to the bandsaw and cut them out. On the first piece, I measure 1 inch from each corner as reference to draw 45-degree corners. On the second piece, I set my bevel gauge to roughly 83 degrees and draw an inward bevel on each face on all 4 sides. Now back to the bandsaw, I cut off the corners on the first piece. On the second piece, I cut off the sides on the 2 opposite faces. Because the reference lines for the 2 remaining faces have been cut off, I temporarily tape them back on and cut to the line. Using the disc sander, I sand all the faces smooth. For the octagon planter, I mark a reference line 3/4 of an inch from the bottom, set my disc sander table to a random angle, and sand a bevel on each of the 8 faces. Now I find the center point in each piece. Now over on the drill press, I drill a 2 inch hole using a Forstner bit. I'm drilling down roughly about 2 3/4 of an inch. For the octagon planter, I'm drilling a 2 1/2 inch hole. I round over all the edges with a block plane and a rasp. And now some final sanding with a random orbit sander. Next, I mix up equal parts of a 2-part epoxy to coat and waterproof the inside. Be sure and mix well so it dries properly. Dump a good amount in and use a brush to coat the sides of the planters. It's better to use too much epoxy than too little. Because the epoxy will want to settle back down to the bottom, I come back 20 minutes later and brush it back up the sides again. Let it sit and dry for 24 hours, and you should have a nice glassy interior. I'm applying a few coats of quick drying spray lacquer for a nice finish. And now, we just repot our succulents into our planters. I suggest using cactus soil for this. For a decorative look, I add some stones to the top. You can download free plans for these two planters in the description below, but I also encourage you to come up with your own designs. Thanks for watching!
To keep up with me, subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, Pinterest, Tumblr, Instagram, and Etsy. And be sure to check out my website at drunkenwoodworker.com.